Every morning starts the same around here. I get up before the sun appears, start the coffee maker up, pour some in my favorite cup, and drink it as I'm headed out the door. The cupboard's full of mugs that work just fine. They're all clean and ready, but they just ain't mine. Faded logo all but gone, the handle barely holding on. The place I got it ain't around no more. People keep their things all brand new and flawless, but I've never been that cautious anyway. If it works, it's good enough for me, and I'm bound to let it be for today. Perfect never lasts, as long as you were hoping all my favorite things are a little bit broken. My old truck has seen its better days. It gets 8 miles to the gallon on the highway. Horn stopped working years ago and the AC won't blow cold. It burns about a quart of oil a week. All my friends are driving brand new rigs with heated leather seats and all those fancy things. Mine is like a trusted friend, I couldn't bear to trade her in. She always gets me where I need to be. People keep their things all brand new and flawless, but I've never been that cautious anyway. If it works, it's good enough for me, and I'm bound to let it be for today. It's perfect never lasts, as long as you were hoping all my favorite things are a little bit broken. Pick your friends, but not your family. None of mine are perfect, they're all right by me. 'Cause perfect people always seem to suck, if you know what I mean. They're always going on about themselves. I'd rather spend my time with real folks who drink a bit too much and tell dirty jokes, who've made mistakes and lived to tell, been in fights and gone through hell, and aren't afraid to ask a friend for help. People keep themselves all brand new and flawless, but I've never been that cautious anyway. If it works, it's good enough for me, and I'm bound to let it be for today. It's perfect never lasts, as long as you were hoping all my favorite people are a little bit broken. A little bit broken. I wrote this song about laundry, and I thought it was kind of cute, but I didn't really think I'd ever sing it in front of anybody. But you know, when I was driving out here to record that album with Chad, I was kind of considering which songs would be on it and which wasn't. I was like, you know what, I'm going to throw the Laundry song on there and just see. We'll record it, and if we hate it, we'll just not put it out there. Well, it ended up being the first single off the album, and it got out there and it got some radio play, but in Italy it got a lot of radio play for whatever reason. And a lady messaged me one day and said, I teach English to Italian people using song lyrics, and I would love it if you'd let me use the lyrics to this song. And about a month later, she sent me a video of 456 people line dancing to the Laundry song in Rome. Which at the time was the world record for such a thing. So I throw the video up online, and it got about 2 million views in the first couple of days I had it out there, all because of this stupid Laundry song. And so I guess that's the lesson to be learned here, is just put the stupid song on your record. I was walking home from church on Sunday. Something sent me reeling back in time. It wasn't what I heard or seen, but something smelled so fresh and clean. It was someone hanging laundry on the line. Now that got me thinking back when I was younger. I don't know how my mother found the time. She always kept us clothed and fed, and Saturday she'd make the beds with sheets and blankets hanging on the line. Laundry that's been hanging on the line. There ain't nothing in the world that smells as fine. That machine's alright, it's understood, but nothing makes you feel so good as laundry that's been hanging on the line. Even in the winter here in Texas, a sunny day ain't all that hard to find. So if it's not a rainy mess, my girl puts on a pretty dress and hangs all of our laundry on the line. Laundry that's been hanging on the line. There ain't nothing in this world that smells as fine. I know we don't all have the space, but the world would be a better place if we all hung our laundry on the line. Now you know me, I'm not the kind that's always telling others what to do. It's only a suggestion, a minor predilection. Don't do it for me, do it for you. I got a friend who lives in New York City. He calls me on the phone from time to time. And he says no one's got a yard up there and people steal your underwear, so he don't hang his laundry on the line. Laundry that's been hanging on the line. There ain't nothing in this world that smells as fine. Some people stop to smell the roses, but for my particular nose, it's laundry that's been hanging on the line. Thank you. This next one is really the only song I've ever written with anybody else that I play out live. I don't love writing with other people, but it's a thing you're supposed to do. It's sort of like an exercise thing, and some people do it more than they write alone. I opened for this girl called Allie Colleen, who, if you don't know who she is, you can Google her. She's a great singer-songwriter herself. She comes from a country music family. It's kind of my practice. Anybody I open for that I like, I'll ask them if they want to maybe write a song one day, and sometimes they'll blow me off. But Allie was too nice to blow me off, so about a year later, I was coming through Nashville, and I texted her. I said, hey, do you want to try to write a song? She said, sure. Me being sort of the lesser-known musician, it's kind of up to you to come up with something to write about when you're on your way to these things. You don't just show up to somebody who's more established and say, hey, what do you want to write about? I thought, well, the first thing we need to do is figure out if we're going to write a sad song or a happy song. So I figured I was going to ask her if she was light or heavy-hearted that day, and maybe that would sort of spur something. And before I knew it, I had a couple lines of this song, and that's what we ended up doing. It's called Not Okay. Let's get the conversation started. Are you light or heavy-hearted today, my friend? As I was thinking, if you got it, a little light in your back pocket that you can lend, it just might help me start turning the pages of the changes in my heart. But I'm a little down today, and I can't say that I know exactly why. If you got some love you can send my way, it might put me on the road to being fine. But today I'm not okay, and that's okay. There are times I need reminded that it's not me who decided how I feel, and it's never what you planned. Not even the dealer knows his hand before the deal. Life's just a chance you have to take, and I got a little overwhelmed by what's at stake. And I'm a little down today, and I can't say that I know exactly why. If you got some love you can send my way, it might put me on the road to being fine. But today I'm not okay, and that's okay. I'm a little down today, and I can't say that I know exactly why. So if you got some love you can send my way, it might put me on the road to being fine. But today I'm not okay, and that's okay. We're going to get to a point where we have enough songs to make an album, and then I'll just start taking all kinds of risks. It's going to be great. Well, you know, I take that back because I just wrote this song the other day, so it's kind of a risk, but I'm sure I won't do anything bad that Chad can't clean up back there. I was thinking about, well, this first part kind of just happened to me. You ever notice how whenever money comes into your hands, like you'll just get like I don't know, somehow you'll just get like $500 in cash that nobody knows about. Your spouse don't know about it, you know. You just kind of have it in your wallet, and you're just making all these good plans, and then just something like the universe finds out about it, and something just comes along and just, it's, you know, $499. I'm glad I'm not the only one that's experiencing that. I met a man down at the Home Depot there. He said he had some work I could do, if money was scarce. And I said, sure, man. I got nothing else going on today. He had me gather stuff up from around the yard, dig a couple post holes. Wasn't all that hard. He gave me $200, and I went on my way. I was whistling a tune, driving back to my place, when the lights come on behind me and I put on my brakes. The cop said, speeding in a school zone, that'll cost you $2.85. As soon as I make it, somebody come along and take it. It seemed like money don't spend no time in my pocket at all. As soon as I got it, somebody come along and want it. And when it goes, where it goes, I can't ever recall. Well, it had been a little while since I had steady work. My buddy said one of his guys down at the shop got hurt and maybe I could fill in, while he was on the mend. So I went there 9 hours a day for 6 days a week, till that old boy got back up on his feet and my buddy gave me a big old stack of hundreds. And I went on my way. But I woke that night to the god-awful sound of my dog choking. You'll never guess what they found. The vet said, yeah, we can get that sock out for about $2,000. As soon as I make it, somebody come along and take it. It seemed like money don't spend no time in my pocket at all. As soon as I got it, somebody come along and want it. And when it goes, where it goes, I can't ever recall. Well, I know there's a lesson here somewhere in all of this mess. A lot of folks think that it's worth the stress to stack up a little extra, in case something comes due. But I've been poor and what some would call rich, and I know it's cliche to say that a man's happiness is more about who he's got than what he's got. But that shit is true. So I watch it come and I watch it go, and I try not to worry about neither no more, cause when it comes down to it, it ain't really up to me. As soon as I make it, somebody come along and take it. It seemed like money don't spend no time in my pocket at all. As soon as I got it, somebody come along and want it. And when it goes, where it goes, I can't ever recall. And man, it goes, and it always goes, I'm telling y'all. So this next song I wrote during the pandemic. As a guy who goes around and plays music in bars for a living, it kind of dried up on me pretty quick there. As a matter of fact, I was on the road when it all happened. I was in Colorado in the middle of a big tour, and I started to kind of hear the news, but gigs were still happening, and then one gig called and canceled, and the next gig called and canceled, and the next thing you knew, we were hightailing it home, and it was hard to get gas. There was a couple of gas stations we stopped at that were out, and it felt very end of the worldy for a minute there, and it was a scary time. My girlfriend's a wedding planner, so her business dried up in a hurry too, and it was just it was scary for a little bit there, but we kind of adjusted a little bit and did different things and just kind of pivoted and made it through, and I just got to feeling really grateful about having somebody I could do that with. We all set out to make certain dreams come true, and I don't know if any of y'all are in relationships, but all the stuff you think you're going to do when you get together, you look at it 20 years later and it's a totally different route than you thought you were going to take. So this song is just me being grateful for that. She closes her eyes. She sees a house along the Guadalupe River, with 2 chairs in the grass out by the fire. And when I close my eyes, I'm sitting right there with her. The family gather around at supper time, at a table long enough to feed an army. Sundays with the grandkids to ourselves. We ain't ever gonna give them back now, are we? Our dreams may be far-fetched, or farther down the road than we'd like them to be. But what good is a dream that's right in front of us to see? She says, honey, I know better than to think that anything in this whole world's a guarantee. I just need for you to dream along with me. Now there's been days lately when the things we want grew farther in the distance. In fact, it seems like most of the last year, anything we tried met up with some resistance. Life is only getting harder. We might only have the strength to say goodnight. But I'll be at that house along the river, by your side in my sleep till morning light. Our dreams may be far-fetched, or farther down the road than we'd like them to be. But what good is a dream that's right in front of us to see? She says, honey, I know better than to think that anything in this whole world's a guarantee. I just need for you to dream along with me. And every bump along the road to wherever we may go will make the getting there the sweeter in the end. If all our hopes and all our plans slip like water through our hands, we'll pick it up and put the whole thing back together again. Our dreams may be far-fetched, or farther down the road than we'd like them to be. But what good is a dream that's right in front of us to see? She says, honey, I know better than to think that anything in this whole world's a guarantee. I just need for you to dream along with me. I just need for you to dream along with me. This next song, I really didn't know what it was about when I wrote it. Sometimes lyrics will just sort of come and I figure out what they're about later. It's only happened a few times, but it happens. And I sort of figured out, I've had a really weird life. I was just talking to somebody else who's had a similarly, just done everything under the book as far as employment. And, I used to own some restaurants. I've done all kinds of weird stuff to try to make a living. And anything I did, I ended up getting sick of to the point where I couldn't handle it anymore and coming back to music until I finally just gave up and decided that music was the thing. And I think this song was about reflecting on a time when I just sort of blew my life up intentionally to get back to music, and which is a thing I highly recommend, unless you have kids, and then don't do that. I got all this time to think, but I'm getting nowhere. My mind's a blank. I thought I only needed space. Take a moment and pump the brakes. But it turns out there's a little more to me that needs working on to some degree. There's weight that I've been carrying around, and things I thought I buried so I wouldn't have to see pile up underfoot I found. So I'm breaking ground. It's been so long since I stood still, afraid to start again and push the rock uphill. But there's no rest up at the top. It's just a hamster wheel. You gotta know to stop. But it turns out you didn't say screw it all. Throw your hands up and walk on off. The rest of the world won't hardly come unwound. We're all searching high and low for what makes life so unfair, looking everywhere but down. So I'm breaking ground. I always thought the key to happiness was knowing when to look the other way. The years have taught me nothing sets you free like digging up the things you're scared to say. Turns out there's a little more to me that needs working on to some degree. There's weight that I've been carrying around, things I thought I buried so I wouldn't have to see pile up underfoot I found. So I'm breaking ground. This next song is called Connect the Dots, and I sort of wrote it about, I have this group of people I went to high school with that, you know, thanks to the wonders of social media, they follow me and we keep up, and they sort of wonder what the hell it is I'm doing, you know. Like, they sell insurance or something from 9 to 5, and I'm driving around the world playing my silly little country songs to people and, you know, hanging out in bars and clubs and theaters and stuff, and occasionally get to open for you know, really well-established acts and stuff, and they look at that from their desk at their Geico cubicle, and I don't know how it makes them feel, but it feels a little hostile. I'm not gonna lie, and I just think they wonder about me. I think they wonder if I'm okay or if there's something wrong with me that makes me able to do this, and there is. It's a malady, maybe, something wrong in my head, but it's not for everybody. But I wouldn't have it any other way. Anyways, maybe I wrote this song to explain it to them, or maybe I wrote it to explain it to me, but it's called Connect the Dots. Got a show in Arizona, it's a 2-day drive. Leave Thursday morning, I'd make it in time if the Ford is willing and the creek don't rise. Got a couple of friends to see on the way, with space in the yard where the van can stay and the dog can stretch out while I rest my eyes. The road is hard on a heart, but I wasn't built for staying still. too much world out there to see. We were meant for so much more than working and paying bills. The highway's calling me. Leave out of Tucson, headed east, where the food gets better and the roads are the least of my worries this time of year. Up in the mountains of New Mexico, where I left another life behind years ago, we'll have a lot of laughs and a couple of tears. You wonder how I make it work so far from home all the time, in some new town every day. I did my share of working straight jobs, so you can't say I didn't try. I've always been this way. And it's a constant conversation I've been having with myself. Am I leaving too much out here on the road? In every honky-tonkin' hotel I hit along the way, I leave a little bit of my soul. It's a long way from Texas to Michigan. There's a place on the way I swore I'd never play again, but it's $200 for the opening slide. Sell a few t-shirts and sing a few songs. Try to ignore they left the ball game on. It's just one big game of connect the dots. The road is hard on a heart, but I wasn't built for staying still. There's too much world out there to see. And we were meant for so much more than working and paying bills. The highway's calling me. Very much. So if you hadn't noticed, I don't write a whole lot of love songs, but every once in a while you got to do it. It's just part of the deal. So I had this gig in where was it? Mahia, Texas, somewhere in the middle of nowhere. And so I rented what was supposed to be a rustic cabin in the middle of nowhere, and they said they had poor cell service and no Wi-Fi. I was like, this is perfect for songwriting. This is just what I need. Well, they meant what they said when they said rustic. The walls were particle board, totally unfinished. I think there was one frame picture of Elvis. The comforter on the bed was made out of the same stuff they make potato sacks out of. It was pretty horrible. I dang near went and slept in the car. But I toughed out the weekend, and I wrote a couple songs, and I decided to sit down and write the most romantic song I could possibly write, and I did. It's called Get in the Truck. Here we go. I waited in the parking lot that first night. You showed up so late, I nearly got in my car and left. I think about how close I came to leaving and living in another world in which we'd never met. But when you came around that corner, it was over for my heart, like in all those fairy tales I don't believe in. And when it happens, it don't matter if you believe in it or not, 'cause here we are all these years later, getting all dressed up and leaving. So put something on and get in the truck. We'll miss dinner by the time you get your mind made up. With that big closet full of clothes, how many shoes nobody knows. There must be something that you haven't worn quite yet. But if you're asking me to help you, picking out a dress. Wear that one you wore the night we first met. We talk about that night from time to time now, and I can play the whole thing back like a movie in my head. There's lots of things that I just don't remember, but the way you looked that night is something I won't ever forget. 'Cause when I first laid eyes upon you, it was over for my heart, like in those cheesy movies that you make me watch. And when it happens, it don't matter if you believe in it or not, 'cause here we are all these years later, getting all dressed up and leaving. Put something on and get in the truck. We'll miss dinner by the time you get your mind made up. With all those closets full of clothes, how many shoes nobody knows. There must be something that you haven't worn quite yet. But if you're asking me to help you in picking out a dress, wear that one you wore the night we first met. And if I had my way, you'd wear it all the time. It's exactly how I see you every time I close my eyes. And I've got nothing half as precious as the memory to which it's tied. So put something on and get in the truck. We'll miss dinner by the time you get your mind made up. With that big closet full of clothes, how many shoes nobody knows. There must be something that you haven't worn quite yet. But if you're asking me to help you in picking out a dress, wear that one you wore the night we first met. Wear that one you wore the night we first met. What kind of mood are y'all in? Are you in a good mood? Yeah. Well, the reason I ask is I'm going to play you possibly the saddest song I've ever written, but it won't be the last song. So we're gonna go down and then we're gonna build back up, and then by the time you leave, you'll be feeling all right. I had this buddy named Sammy back when I had my restaurants, and Sammy was the kind of dude who never said no to anything his entire life. If you put any kind of good time in front of him, he was all for it. Didn't even need to check and see exactly what it was. He was all for it. And as a consequence, his health started to fail a little bit earlier than a lot of ours, and by the time he was in his 50s, he needed a pair of kidneys, and they wouldn't give him kidneys because he needed a heart, and it was just sort of a life well lived and in the fast lane though. So he moved to North Carolina for a while. He was a surfer and he wanted to surf as long as he could, and got a pacemaker put in. And eventually he called me and said, "Aaron, I'm on my way home to New Mexico to wrap some things up." I was in Austin at the time. He said, "Do you mind if I come see you on my way?" I said, "No, absolutely, come see me." So he did. He pulled up. He had this big old RV, and he pulled up, and as soon as he saw me, he had another little heart attack. It was like his 18th heart attack, and they put him on the gurney. And by the time they were putting him in the ambulance, we were making plans for the next day. He'd been through it a million times. So he called me a couple days later and asked me to do something for him, and that's kind of where this song picks up. And there's a funny part afterwards, so just hang on for that. He said, "I gotta tell you, brother, I've been in better shape. The doctor said I won't have long to wait. I've known it's coming for me. I all but brought it here. I'm curious, but I am not afraid. I've lived a life of wandering. The rules were not for me. There wasn't anything I didn't try. In all my years of traveling, I've made a lot of friends, but you're the one I called here to my side. You see, the doctor's got a plan to keep me comfortable, he says, and ease my few remaining days and nights. But I think you know me well enough to know I don't intend to die here underneath these godforsaken fluorescent lights. So get me out of here, I don't know where I'm going, heaven or the parking lot or hell. Just put me on my way to where I'm going, anywhere but here is just as well. I don't have the strength left now to fight. Please don't let me die here underneath these fluorescent lights. He said, I hate to have to ask you, but I got no next of kin, at least not that I'm talking to these days. So if you've got the time to take me back to New Mexico, one last time I'd like to see her face. But they won't let me go easy, I'm tied to all this stuff. Well, tell them I just want to get some air, and we'll go out through the lobby, so wheel me through the door, put me in the truck and we'll leave the chair. But get me out of here, I don't know where I'm going, heaven or the parking lot or hell. Just put me on my way to where I'm going, anywhere but here is just as well. I don't have the strength left now to fight. Please don't let me die here underneath these fluorescent lights. So I did just like he asked me, and by the time they knew we'd gone, we'd hit the highway hard and headed west. We talked a couple hours while the sun sank through the road, till I finally shut my mouth and let him rest. And I drove all through the night, stopping only once for gas. Tucumcari showed itself at dawn, so I stopped the truck for breakfast at a roadside taco shack. I went to wake him up, gone. So get me out of here, I don't know where I'm going, heaven or the parking lot or hell. Just put me on my way to where I'm going, anywhere but here is just as well. I don't have the strength left now to fight. Please don't let me die here underneath these fluorescent lights. So that's a true story about my buddy Sammy. I tried to write that song a bunch of times, and years went by before I could write it. And as a matter of fact, I came here and I recorded this entire album without that song. I hadn't written it yet, and one day I was just sitting in my van by this lake, and that song came to me in 6 minutes. I wrote it, and I called Chad. I said, look, I don't care how we do this, we got to get this song on the record. So I recorded my voice and guitar at home, sent it to him, and he did all his magic out here, and I love it. It's my favorite song on the album. But I told you there was a funny part to that story, and there is. While Sammy was in the hospital, he was in there for a couple of days, and like I said, he didn't say no to much his whole life. He called me, he said, Aaron, I've got a medical marijuana license in North Carolina, but I don't have any way to get any here in Texas, and it's not legal. He said, would you please get me some? And I was raised by an ER nurse who told me when I was like 14 that if I smoked marijuana once that I would, drive off a cliff and disappoint my whole family and all that stuff. It worked. So at the age of 42 or whenever this was, I had never smoked, let alone bought marijuana my entire life. But I was in a band and I had a bass player, which is where you get marijuana. So I text my bass player and I said, hey, how do I do this? He's like, well, here's the number. You text the guy. He's like, don't say, can I please buy some drugs from you? Say, are you working or whatever? So I did. I texted the guy and I drove down to Austin and we had what had to be the most awkward drug deal of this guy's career. I would not be at all surprised if he went home and was like, if this is what my drugs are doing to people, I'm getting out of the game. So anyways, I put it in my glove box and I drove up to get Sammy, and then all that happened, and he never got it. And so I'm telling this story to a friend of mine a year later, and she said, what did you do with that weed? And I said, I think it's still in my glove box. And we walked out there. I had driven to Canada, Mexico, all the contiguous states. So the key to smuggling drugs is just to not know that they're there, and you are good. I think Sammy was just trying to see how I would do in prison. So I was getting ready to start recording this latest album, and I didn't have a drinking song on there yet, which in Texas you can't do that either. So I started thinking about my relationship to drinking over the years, and I just thought I'd write a little more honest drinking song, Clearly we're still in a relationship, but it's changed over the years. The song's called Make 'Em Double. You can take some whiskey and pour it over ice, put it in a glass, it'll sure taste nice. It didn't at first, I had to work my way up to it, but now I regret that I ever thought to do it. It can take a problem and make you forget, but it's back in the morning with a pile of regret. Why keep it up? The Lord can only figure, 'cause nothing's getting fixed and the worry's getting bigger. Some folks drink for good times and some for bad. Some folks drink to forget a love they had. Some folks have a drink to ease their struggle, but all that whiskey's ever done for me is kick my worries down the road and make them double. If something's on my mind and I go to drinking, I'll have one or two and then I'll get to thinking 2 or 3 more is gonna make it all better. It hadn't worked once, but I never say never. For some it's a problem, for some a solution, but I spent my life coming to the conclusion whatever it is I'm trying to drink away is coming back worse the very next day. Some folks drink for good times and some for bad. Some folks drink to forget a love they had. And some folks have a drink to ease their struggle. But all that whiskey's ever done for me is kick my worries down the road and make them double. Sweet relief, a drink away. Never thinking about the next day. Some folks drink for good times and some for bad. Some folks drink to forget a love they had. And some folks have a drink to ease their struggle. But all that whiskey's ever done for me is kick my worries down the road and make them double. kick my worries down the road and make them double. This is my favorite song on the new record. It's called Heavier in the Dark, and it's about, I don't know if you've ever woken up in the middle of the night really worried about something that wasn't necessarily bothering you during the day, but now it's really bugging you, and it keeps you up all damn night. And then you torture yourself all night, and you wake up in the morning, and whatever it was in the daylight seems relatively minor, and you wonder why you stayed up all night worrying about it. Well, this is the song about that. It's sort of a musical nightmare, I like to say. Things are heavier in the dark. They're heavier in the dark. A fleeting thought in the daylight, at night might stop your heart. We've all felt the weight upon our chest, and we've woken with its mark. Science disagrees, but I believe that things are heavier in the dark. How many times have you woken with your heart up in your throat? A worry you drowned in the daylight has taught itself to float. The waves are getting higher, coming over the sides of your boat. You wake up in the morning light with no idea why your sheets are soaked. Things are heavier in the dark. They're heavier in the dark. A fleeting thought in the daylight, at night might stop your heart. We've all felt the weight upon our chest, and we've woken with its mark. Science disagrees, but I believe that things are heavier in the dark. Have you laid there beside your lover and never quite felt so alone? Their mind is resting quietly, you can't control your own. Their body's still and peaceful as you trade supine for prone. Lonely comes in the nighttime, it's the heaviest thing I've known. Things are heavier in the dark. I swear they're heavier in the dark. A fleeting thought in the daylight, at night might stop your heart. We've all felt the weight upon our chest, and we've woken with its mark. Science disagrees, but I believe that things are heavier in the dark. Does anything move slower than a clock watched in the night? The minutes each take twice as long as you're waiting for the light. The hands themselves grow heavier, taking longer just for spite. With each lap around, the gears grow more rusted and tight. Things are heavier in the dark. I swear they're heavier in the dark. A fleeting thought in the daylight, at night might stop your heart. We've all felt the weight upon our chest, and we've woken with its mark. Science disagrees, but I believe that things are heavier in the dark. Science disagrees, but I believe that things are heavier in the dark. Science disagrees, but I believe that things are heavier in the dark. This is a song I wrote kind of while I was on the road, just about missing home. It's your typical guy on the road missing home story with a stripper in it. It's a true story. There's a pretty girl drinking champagne at the end of the bar. Guy that tied one on at noon is trying too hard. Me, I'm down the other end, drinking beer and watching them. It's a Tuesday afternoon somewhere in Tennessee, and I've been on the road this time about 2 weeks. The sign says $3 whiskey sours. It's happy hour. She got up and sat herself right next to me and ordered us another round. Said, come see me at the place I work tonight, strip bar just outside of town. And I said, I'm tired of going to bed alone, but you've got nothing on the girl I've got at home. They tell you life out on the road is a fool's endeavor. Can't expect a girl back home to wait forever. I might not be there all the time, but we're doing fine. You wonder how a girl could love a man she rarely sees, but the road ain't like it was back in the 70s. We just learned to make the most of my time at home. And all the towns that come and go through the windshield beside the rear window, and I leave nothing but a song. And all the faces that I see, they fade away into memory, except for one, the one to which I belong. I've been gone too long. Somehow that you'll never make me choose between the road and her. And when the time comes to put away my boots, I like to think I'll know it first, and I'll say I'm tired of traveling alone, and the road's got nothing on the girl I got at home. So this next song we got to have a talk about before it's a sexy song is what it is. It doesn't sound sexy. It's quite the opposite. That's the subject matter. So sorry if you're here with your parents or whatever. 95% of my travel is me in a van with a dog, and every once in a while the girl will come along for a short run, but she's over the 2-week runs of the two of us and a Great Dane in a small box. So any travel that we do that isn't touring for music, she plans and does it all, which is great for me because I get a legit vacation. I don't have to know anything about it. Often it'll be the night before and she'll be like, okay, pack your bag, dude, we're leaving in the morning. I'm like, great, where are we going? And she will have been talking to me about this forever, and I just pay no attention until it's time to go. Well, this trip up, we flew into Savannah, Georgia. It was great. I loved Savannah a lot. We spent a couple of days there, and then we rented a car and drove up to Charleston, South Carolina. On the way up there, we stopped at this fish house for lunch. It was just in the middle of nowhere. It was called the Something Something Fish House. And it was a real classy place. They had the menu with all the facts about South Carolina on there, and the drawings and stuff. And I had the state bird of South Carolina and the state flag and the state everything. But it had the state dance of South Carolina. Does anybody know what the state dance of South Carolina is? Is the shag, which, if you didn't know, occasionally folks will use the word shag to refer to that thing that, when a couple loves each other very much, they will do. So I looked at my menu and, I was quizzing Trisha on all this stuff, and I said, do you know what the state dance of South Carolina is? And she says, no. I said, well, I'll give you a hint. It's the only dance I know how to do. And I'm glad you think it's funny. She didn't exactly. But by the end of it, I was dared to write a song called The State Dance of South Carolina, and here we all are together about to hear the State Dance of South Carolina. I can see it behind your eyes. Something's building up that's about to give. And if this year has taught me anything, it's that holding it all in is no way to live. We can leave first thing in the morning and be on the coast by happy hour. We could stop at the fish house a long way and sit at that table we call ours. When in Rome you do like the Romans do, but it's too hot to do much of anything here in the afternoon. When the sun goes down and the wind starts to blow, we'll lock the doors and open the windows and do the state dance of South Carolina. We'll do the state dance of South Carolina. It's a long and lonely morning. I've been drinking coffee and watching you sleep. There's a mountain of work piling up. We could shut off our phones and get it next week. As I was thinking, if you feel like I do, we could order breakfast and stay in bed. And if we're feeling the same come evening, we'll order up dinner and do it again. We don't need to go out to dance tonight, but since we're here, don't it only seem right? When the sun goes down and the wind starts to blow, we'll lock the doors and open the windows and do the state dance of South Carolina. We'll do the state dance of South Carolina. Let's go to a place where they take things slow, and of all the state dances, they got the one I know. Take your boots off, darling. It ain't like we're at home in Texas. We don't need to go out to dance tonight, but since we're here, don't it only seem right? When the sun goes down and the wind starts to blow, we'll lock the doors and open the windows and do the state dance of South Carolina. We'll do the state dance of South Carolina. Thank you very much, folks. Let's see here. We got one last song. This is an old song. It's definitely the oldest song on the playlist. I used to own a handful of restaurants back in New Mexico. And as a matter of fact, I worked in restaurants pretty much my whole life. When I was 15 or so, I got a job at Little Caesars. And, yep, I lived back in Detroit. And so I started working at this Little Caesars. At the time, it was the biggest one in Michigan. I don't know if it is anymore. But it had like a drive-through and all this stuff. And I can never do anything just a little bit. So by the time I was in high school, I was the general manager of this big old Little Caesars. And then in college, I was running like 4 of them, before I finally realized that they're paying me like $22,000 a year to do, to work 80 hours a week. And I went and worked at a different restaurant where they paid me like $26,000 to work 80 hours. But I worked at restaurants my whole life up until a certain point. And as a consequence, I dated waitresses a lot. I mean, everybody I dated was in the restaurant business in some way. And, I had a lot of good times. They're mostly great people. Waitresses are cool. They're used to being nice to people that don't necessarily deserve it. So were good to me, and, I've always got cash on hand. They smell good. Like I said, they were all great experiences except for this one. And she got a song. And the song's called She Was a Waitress. She was a waitress, but I can't think of one that wasn't. I bet there's been about 24, but let's just talk about this one. We like the same things. I take that back, it's what we hated. We both sat around and rated the things we hated just for fun. She never called me before sunset, or told the truth if she could avoid it. And I still don't know what she wanted, but I hope she got it. She was a hellcat. She'd come around when I'd been drinking, show up high and leave me thinking that this was getting hard to do. I took her to church once just to see if she'd catch fire, but she outsang the whole damn choir and stuck her gum under the pew. I don't know if I was too slow, she was way too fast for me, and so much harder to turn around when you're running at full speed. She called and dumped me, and she never did say why. I guess she found some other guy, but I still see her now and then. She'll smile and wink at me, leaving the place where we first met, with some fool that don't know yet he's over his head. Never called me before sunset, or told the truth if she could avoid it. I still don't know what she wanted, but I hope she got it. She was a waitress. I can't think of one that wasn't. I bet there's been about 24, but let's just talk about this one. Thank you all very much, folks. This has been an absolute riot. We'll see you next time.